Well, good after. Excuse me. Ah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry I am about an hour late. My husband had at the last minute. I had like an hour to get ready, and then he asked me to come with him to Home Depot because he was getting ready to. Oh, let me put this down. That's too low. Let's see. He was getting ready to get the tubing to put up my green screen. And so I thought, yeah, I'll go ahead and go with them. And so we ended up spending like 45 minutes in Home Depot because he got the things he needed for my office. But then he also got a few things that he needed. It's like our doorknob broke off and he had to get a whole new doorknob. So yeah, so that's where I've been, and I rushed home and told Michelle, that I'm home. I'm sorry, sorry I'm late. I'm getting everything set up. So here we are, guys. We're only going to be able for about an hour. Then I have to leave. I've got plans with my family after this. But me and Michelle, we're both available today, and we wanted to be able to come on with you guys and just give the gab, and we'll just talk about whatever comes to our mind and our hearts. So I'm going to shut up now so that Michelle can introduce herself. And Michelle, just give us a little bit of information about you, or if you want to maybe describe a little bit, like, because her husband is Brother Merle, who is Living in Grace. That's his channel name. So if you want to, plug Merle's channel, by all means, sister, please go ahead and do that.
Hi, I'm Michelle. My husband, like Wendy said, is Merle Hanna, Living in Grace. I see Celine in the chat, and she says hi. And hey, Celine.
Hey, sister.
But I don't have a text bar at the bottom of that chat to be able to chat. So I don't know what the deal is. Still.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do, let me send you the actual view link over on YouTube, because and it's no different than like when you go watch a video of mine. If I happen to be live, you'll see the live chat area. You can type to Celine if you want, or anybody else who might be commenting in the live chat area. And of course, I can see everyone's comments in StreamYard. Maybe the reason why I see it is just because I'm the one broadcasting it. I'm not sure why that is, but at least you've got the link to just go right over to YouTube. Just mute it because when it loads, it's gonna be like in real time. So I just I turn off the sound basically, so you don't get that feedback. But then you'll be able to have the comment section. You can comment to anybody who does decide to come into the live chat area. So, how are things going there where you live? I mean, it seems like every day something new is happening in and around the country. So, has there been anything new happening out where you guys are
at? Last weekend, in the county over from us, there was a pretty big protest. It was over a Confederate statue that stands there in front of the courthouse, and the Confederate, I'm thinking that it must have been some sort of Confederate association came and set up, and there were flags and things, and it was a pretty big deal. The police were called, and the police actually at the end of it made everybody leave. Uh,
Were
you
they
know, they
starting to like riot and loot and they were
no,
trying to tear? Were they trying to tear the statue down? Is that what they were trying to do?
well, the group, I guess, had got word that they were gonna try to either tear it down or um, paint it, do something to it. So they went down there and just set up, and they did have guns, and they did have both sides had guns, and but there was no shooting or anything like that. I don't think anybody got arrested. Um, it it's kind of crazy. Um, but
Well,
it
because I know you guys are in North Carolina. Have they tried in any of the cities where you guys are at to make their own Chaz?
No, not that I know of.
Okay.
Our two major cities that's close, we have Raleigh, the capital. There's also Charlotte, Asheville, is some of the bigger cities in North Carolina. Um, Very liberal in both places. Um, so it's kind of been trying. My son said there were some protesters up on Main Street like 2 weeks ago here in our town,
Oh, okay.
but it was just a few. It wasn't nothing bad. We've not really. That's the biggest one that I've seen in that was really close to us. And they gathered, they prayed, they um, of course, they were Confederate flags everywhere. And my thought on that is that's our history. And, it's just like um, Black Lives Matters. They have hit their history, and that's ours, and it should be left alone. That's my thought on it.
Well, right, because you know, and here's my thinking. Our generation, we grew up being taught the history of how we became the United States, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
Obviously, we learned everything. Okay, but you know, let's say things calm down and things don't just go absolutely crazy. Well, if you get rid of our history and you get rid of all the monuments and the statues that tell a story in and of itself, what's going to be taught to generations that are 3 or 4 down the road removed from us when you and I are long gone? This would be like our great grandchildren.
Yeah.
If there's nothing left in even the history books, if everything is removed, then our history is forgotten. And I do believe, it's like when you look at the Bible, you see all the history of from the time God created the earth and the first man, Adam, and then his wife, Eve, all the way up to now. You have all the history. You don't have things removed.
No.
And with that history, yes, you do have the history of, the horrible things that happened in the land of Egypt and what the Egyptian ruler, the Pharaoh did, killing all the baby Hebrew boys.
Yeah.
And you have the history of the parting of the Red Sea and the wilderness journey for 40 years and then coming into the land of Canaan, land flowing with milk and honey. So, I mean, we have all that history. And here we are, just from Moses, I think we're like some 3,500 years later. But we have all that history. And it's because we have, it's like the Jewish people have really protected their scriptures. And even when we receive the New Testament scriptures, The Lord has made sure that our scriptures, which includes our history as a people, has been preserved. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I think the same applies to the history of the United States. I mean, yes, there's some bad and ugly parts in our history, but every part of the world, every nation who became a nation, they have their good, bad, and the ugly too.
Yeah.
Their own countries don't have a right to erase their history. So why do we think we as Americans have a right to erase our history? We don't. Honestly,
You
we
know,
don't.
we don't. You don't have the right to erase anybody's history. And you're right. When I was in school, we learned. Um, well, the first thing was up until junior high, we had devotionals every morning.
Mm-hmm.
We were allowed to do that for like 10 or 15 minutes first thing in the morning. And then we got on up into junior high, but we were taught about all the wars, Civil War, any war. We were taught about those. And, we learned that um, there were slaves. And, I didn't agree with it then. And when I was in junior high, I had friends that were um, of color, and they're still my friends to this day. I don't, hate them in any way, and I respect their history just as much as they should, respected mine. Nothing was ever. It just wasn't this way, and I honestly never dreamed that it would come to what it has today. You
Oh, I
know,
know, and it's just like a little over 3 months ago. My life was going along. I had very specific plans, which because of COVID and everything. I mean, those plans obviously had to be adjusted just a little bit. But it's like I can remember when 2020 started. I was so glad 2019 was, done and gone. It seemed like it was kind of a hard year for me, and it's always good, out with the old, in with the new.
yeah,
I saw the coming of the new year, 2020. Okay, we're in a brand new decade, and it's like, okay, we're going to be positive.
yeah,
We're going to think of good things are going to happen in 2020. The glass is half full, not half empty. I mean, it's a whole new horizon ahead of us. And just looking forward to the year, and looking forward to all the things that the Lord was going to be doing in my life. Which, I mean, He has been doing amazing things in my life. It's just they've been coming to fruition in ways that I mean, if I had a choice, I'd be like, Lord, are you sure about this? I don't know if you've got the right idea in mind. That's why He knows all things and I don't. I never
yeah,
ever would have dreamed 3 months, just 3 months into the year, we'd be hit with a, supposed pandemic that's going to stop the entire world. And it turned the whole world up on its head. And we haven't even recovered from that. And like me and my husband, we were talking on the way to Home Depot, um, that at first, he didn't see things as really all that bad. And even when George Floyd happened, he didn't think things would get as bad as they are now. And so now we're like, we got to start prepping. There's certain things we have to have done, because if things go as bad as we think we are, do we even have a year before we're no longer safe where we're at? And it's like, because
yeah,
there's certain things we have to acquire to be able to survive. And it's like, do we even have a year to, but and of course for me in my faith, God's going to supply all of our needs. If we have to leave, God will make sure we have everything that we need. Now, of course, me and my husband, we hope it doesn't get to the point. We hope, it'll blow over, but we still have to prepare. And this is something we both admitted. We should have been doing this preparing years ago. But we just
Yeah.
thought, the world's just going to keep going and going. America's never going to fall. But of course, you and I know that's not what scripture says. Now, when the Antichrist, rises to power, will there still be a United States of America? Well, obviously, I don't know that answer. I tend to think that no, the United States is going to have to fall. Our freedoms are going to be completely taken away. But of course, that's just my speculation. Who knows how that's going to be played out? But the time to prepare and also the day of salvation is now. And
Yeah.
that's why, so many of us in the grace community, we're really stressing about getting out and sharing the gospel. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to you because I don't want to, just hog up all of our time.
That's okay. Well, and if you study the history in the Bible, it teaches prepare. And, you know, I've stressed it to my kids, guys, you need at least a couple months worth of food in your house stored up. And a couple of the kids get it, some don't. But I've never seen this in my lifetime, and that's what I told them the other day. And it really worries me. So, buy up your extra stuff that you need and just put it up. If nothing happens, then fine. But if something does, then you have a way to feed your family. And we weren't going to do a garden this year. And around, when everything started going on, we're like, well, we better, put up some stuff. Like I love canning. It's one of my favorite things to do. Make jelly.
Me and Robert, we were just talking about canning, and I'm like, if things get bad and we have to leave, I'm going to have to learn how to can. And he's like, well, it's really not that hard. You just cook the food in the canning jars, and that's what seals it in, and then it saves for quite a while. And it's like, we need to start planting a garden. And he's like, well, it's going to take a while. I'm like, yeah, but you could still buy seeds, no matter where you live or where you have to go to be able to survive. You could buy your seeds, and so it's but it's all new. It's all new to me. I have never had to go through this kind of thinking in my life. And so it's like, I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for these things now.
Non-GMO seeds are hard to find now. They didn't used to be. You could find heirloom seeds, but now they're harder to find and they're more expensive than they used to be. Once we save seed from our stuff, and
like from your previous crop, like when you harvest and stuff, you save the seeds and then you just replant those. Is that what you do?
Yes. And a lot of people don't know how to do stuff like that anymore. My grandmother, when I was my granddaughter's age, I was standing up in a chair when I was too tiny to reach the sink, helping cook, can, do stuff like that. And you've heard. I was thinking about. I just smile when I hear that song, but it's a country boy can survive. And it's the truth, because we were taught to take care of ourselves no matter what the situation is. We're not going to go hungry. So it's,
now, do you guys know, because this might be good information. I don't know if Merle knows some good online resources, because what Robert was talking to me about is there are certain prepping sites, where you can buy like buckets of, I guess it's ready-made food. I mean, it's obviously it's not going to taste the best. It will keep you alive. And it's supposed to be
Yeah.
like 2 weeks supply, and it just comes in a big bucket, and you just store it and you just put it away, and that's what we're going to start on first. and
Yeah.
and and I did tell him, I'd ask you guys to see, maybe you have some links that you feel are trustworthy. I mean, I don't know if you guys do, or with your prepping, how have you guys been preparing, and
Well,
food stores and stuff like that.
well, back in March when I started putting some stuff up, when all this started, I actually started in February, but I went to a couple of like For Patriot Supply and some places online that sell the buckets of food, and they were out of stock on a lot of stuff, and
Yep, that's what Robert says, that they're out of stock.
delayed shipping. So, you know, you need to get mason jars. You can put beans in a jar. There's a lot of things you can do. If you can't find stuff like that online, they make the food sealing bags. And that's all the people they do. They got this dried out prepared food, and they store it in um, like the Palmar bags, and that's the way that stuff comes. So if you're not able to um, go to like Patriot Supply, or I can't think of all of them right now. There's three that I looked at, and I think Walmart even sells some of that stuff now, like in the camping, hiking section.
Okay, yeah. I've
Um,
seen like the section, the and I'm not sure what it's called, but like to like seal in your food. It's like a special like suction machine thing, and it comes with the bags in it. Like, and I mean, you can do it like with your clothing and stuff. You put your like clothes for, you're in the summertime, but you want to like store all your winter clothes. You just put it in a bag, and it like takes all the air, just like vacuums it, it just like seals it.
yeah, I said it's a Mylar bag. I think it's what the
Mylar. Okay.
it's the shiny bags, and I think though that like the uh, section thing that you were talking, the food saver is what it
Hmm.
is. I think they even sell the Mylar bags too. Um, my friend, she's got a farm, and she does a lot of canning, and she stored a lot of stuff in those Mylar bags. I haven't, um, but she's got a big family. She's got 4 kids, so she just naturally stocks food. Um, and we've got beans. We got the chickens. That was something that we added, and even those we ordered them in. Let's see, April, the beginning of April, and they didn't get here until like May.
Of
May,
this year.
yeah.
So how do you order chickens on? I mean, how does that? I mean, mail order chickens. I can't picture that.
They
I mean,
come. They're like 1 or 2 days old when they ship them, and they ship them to the post office. And he,
how?
my son ordered like 24, and we kept 15.
And they're just
One
baby chick. They're just baby
uh,
chickens.
baby chicks. They're just a couple days old when they ship them. When you get them, they're only just a few days old. Um, one of ours didn't make it, but it was sickly when they first got here, and I just kept that one to see if I could work with it. But out of 15, we still have 14 of them. So, um,
And are they females or males or
well, they're a mix. The bees
okay?
Now you can order just hens. They're a little more expensive if they sex them and send them to you.
Mm.
Uh, they're a little bit more expensive. But we needed a rooster too, so he just ordered.
That's what I was going to say. You'd have a rooster, but if you have male and female, well, then they can reproduce and give you more chickens.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, at a certain stage, I don't know how old do they have to be before the hens will start laying eggs?
Um, these that we have now probably won't start laying until next spring.
Okay.
Now we have one hen that she's older, and she's laying. She lays an egg a day. And for anybody out there that wants to try to get some chickens, these are astrolorps, and they're in the top 5 layers. So you need to look at that too. Just check out some of the best layers and um,
No, what do you mean by layers? That just like went over my head. I don't know what you
amount
mean by by layers.
amount of eggs they'll lay a year,
Oh, okay.
and the astrolorps are like in the top 5. Um, but just research that before you don't just run out and buy any kind of chicken, because kind of do some research on the one, depending on what you're wanting. If you're just wanting eggs, you want to find a good layer, and all of them don't lay every day. um they also will lay through the winter if you'll put lights, like give them about 2 more hours of light. They'll continue to lay through the winter. So um but yeah, these little guys they're, I don't know, they're about that big now. They've grown really fast.
Now, will these be just egg laying chickens, or will they be going from the coop to the frying pan? I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I mean,
That
because
depends.
they are a source of food. If worse would
Yeah.
come to worse, they're a source of food. You know.
Um, it's looking like I've got about 3 roosters out there, and unless somebody wants or needs a rooster, yes, ma'am, they're going into crock pot. So,
Okay.
um,
Yeah, because the roosters basically, I mean, that they can help with the breeding, but all they're doing is they're cock-a-doodle doo.
yeah, they're hollering. Um,
And do they start about 2 o'clock in the morning? We have roosters here, our neighbors, because we're in like a real rural area, and that was the hardest thing to get used to when we moved here 7 years ago. Was the rooster started crowing at like 2:30 in the morning, and I mean, just like clockwork. I mean, now I'm so used to it, it doesn't bother me, but that was hard to get used to.
it really is, and um, they they typically, when they first see the sun, is when they will start crowing. We had one when I would get up in the mornings and turn my kitchen light on and I can see the coop from my kitchen window. And when I turn the kitchen light on in the morning, even if it's not dark, I mean, if it's still dark outside, they'll start because they
Because
see
they
it.
see the light and they think it's
Yeah.
the sun coming up.
So,
Oh,
so
that's funny. That's
chances
probably
are,
why they're crowing here, is because some light is on all the time in our
yeah,
house. Yep.
yeah. And they'll, if there's street lights, I don't know how that would work. They might get used to a street light that stayed on every night, but yeah, if anybody flips a light on and they can see it, they're gonna start. They think it's morning.
Well, and what's so funny about because they just I know they're owned by somebody, and it's probably by our neighbor, but they let them roam free. We've had baby chickens just walk into our yard, and of course the cats and the dogs, they they,
Thin
they
'em out.
scare them off. We also have wild turkeys that roam around here. Now, I don't know if you guys have, any wild turkeys where you're at. And of course,
Yeah,
food
we
becomes
do.
scarcity. We might be getting a turkey for Thanksgiving. You just, you never know.
Yeah. We've got actually right now, a big deer that's coming in the backyard eating, and she's good size. She's bigger than any one I've seen. And, I, we see stuff like that. We do have wild turkeys. We've got squirrels everywhere. They'll drive you crazy. Um, and I'm trying to think of something else. Possums, raccoons, you name it, we got it. It's we've been known to see a bear or two in
Oh,
those,
wow.
so
Well, now,
and
does Merle do any hunting? That's
um
that's one question I've never asked him personally, so I don't know if he actually goes out and hunts and cleans the game, and or if that would be something that would be left up to you to do. I just.
no, neither one of us really do anymore, but we still have a son that lives here, and he hunts.
Okay.
And a lot of his friends hunt, and so um but something else I was going to mention too is canning meat with a pressure cooker. And that's something that I've got to do. I've got to clean out my freezer. So I need to can some of that meat so that I can put more stuff in there. Like I had rather have frozen squash, fresh frozen squash, because I can fry it still. But now if you can squash, which I did can some the other day because I didn't have anywhere to put it in my freezer. And I need to can some stuff that's already in there so that I'll have room for some fresh vegetables to go back in. So, but I mean, there is always, like you said, y'all have turkeys, y'all have you have rabbits.
Yeah, we've seen some rabbits. Now I think, like, because the turkeys, they're I mean, they're not ours. They just, you see them running around wild. I think they're probably protected. I don't think, we, even if we had a shotgun, we couldn't just go out and shoot a wild turkey. I mean, but
Yeah,
because we're inside, like the city limits, even though on our street and the streets around us, it looks like a little rural town. I mean, because some of the yards, they have like several acres, and
yeah,
there's like a couple streets behind us, they've got horses and stuff. And I mean, so we feel fortunate for where we live, but it's like, if they try to start bringing the riots to like our little city street, our little rural streets, that's when we're like, yeah, no, it's not safe here anymore. And we hope it doesn't happen, but we are trying to prepare in case that day would come.
yeah. Well, the thing that really got me this week so far in the news was the man and woman that um, tried to defend their home. They were in,
They were in a gated community.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the news has really been trying to tear them up this week. And I just shook my head this morning when I was watching some news. I'm like, if that were to happen here, I don't understand why they would be so down on these people, because they had worked for, I think he said 40 years, 32 years, maybe a long time. They bought the house. It sounded like maybe, at a really good price because it needed a lot of work. And they have preserved this old home, and it's really nice now and stuff. And of course, people are going to defend their property.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. The news media, it just makes me mad when I watch it. I don't watch much because I can't take it. Um, it just, but
Well, what the only thing that my husband commented on it, because he showed me the clip of it. He's like, the guy should never be having the muzzle facing up. Muzzle always is facing towards the ground, and the wife, is, just kind of pointing, just kind of, like this. And I
yeah,
mean, they didn't know how to handle weapons correctly, but the fact that they're not taking no flack, people coming into their gated community thinking they're going to start rioting and protesting, yeah, we would do the same thing.
yeah,
We're just not going to allow that.
yeah.
Not in any way, shape, or form. And I guess from what I heard, Chaz is coming down. They've already
Hmm.
had the bulldozers coming in because they tried to go protest at, was it the governor of Washington? What, the governor or the mayor? They went to her house, and
Yeah,
she's the one who, is saying, oh, it's just, a summer of love. Well, it's a summer of love until you bring it to my front door.
yeah, yeah,
And so that's when she gave the order, and I guess lots of police have been in there. And
yeah. I think they started on that this morning, and yeah, it's really bad. But and they're attacking Christianity, and as far as I can think in my mind, don't come to my home and try to do anything like that, because I am ready to meet the Lord and I don't care to die. So just don't do it. And
right.
I think that's a lot of Christians' mentality, because you're going to protect your home, you're going to protect your family, and you know some of the some things are bad, in little communities anyway. Um, I've never pulled a gun and pointed a gun at anyone here, but I have had to get my gun before. And so I
Since all of this started, or just at another separate
just
time?
at another separate, and um it was just somebody that had wandered up my driveway like at 11:30, 10:30 at night, and I was home alone with the kids. And
Mm.
the dogs started barking out in the yard, and when my dogs are barking and it's night and I'm not expecting company, I'm gonna have the shotgun when I come out the front door. That's just the way that's just the way it is. So, um, you know, they and the more protests I see, like the one in our town, our a local town, in the next county, people are not afraid. Uh, not like I don't I think they were thinking that people would carry that, just kinda cower down because they're such a big group, but that's not the case. So, I'm hoping that things calm down and people get some sense. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. And you know, men and women have to be able to defend themselves. And it's and I got your comment on my other video. Yeah, I probably do need to watch some self-defense classes. I mean, I know the right buttons, like on my taser. I know the right buttons, and but I need to probably think through the different scenarios that could be that I could be presented with. Okay, what are you going to do if somebody comes up behind you and you're not expecting it and they grab you? I mean, there's all these different situations that you could easily find yourself in, and are you going to freeze?
And if you will find, there's a lot of them on YouTube. If you will find some good self-defense videos and get your husband or your boys or somebody to practice them with you. We had to learn self-defense at my old job, That was part of our yearly training. And what you practice, if you'll just practice it, that's the way when you're scared, if something like that happens, this is why you need to practice. If you are scared and you have practiced
I need to hang up
self-defense,
right now, honey. You need to
and,
practice, right?
and you practiced your self-defense, that's the way you're going to react and what you've learned to do. But if you just, watch it and you don't, and I need to practice too because I'm out of practice. Um, I also need to get reacquainted with our guns and things because typically you don't shoot a lot anymore, and ammo is so expensive that it's hard to go practice a lot.
Right, because you don't want to waste the ammo.
Yeah, you don't want to
Because it's
waste.
expensive, right?
So, and in that case, get the gun, don't load it, get familiar with it, practice with it unloaded. Because if you practice, and then maybe go shoot a few rounds just to see how good your aim and stuff is, but be familiar with your gun. And that's the stuff that we were taught. And when you're in a situation where you're panicky and something's going on, if you practice, that's the way that you'll react.
Well, and it would probably be good even for my boys to do like the self defense, videos and stuff with me, just so
Yeah,
that they're able to protect themselves if they ever get into, a compromising situation.
yeah, yeah. But there's a lot of stuff on YouTube. I think even uh, a lot of the uh, back years ago, a lot of the fellas that did law enforcement and stuff, like one time they were offering free training for women. It was free. All you had to do was come. And so you might find something like that in your area that you could go to. Um, but yeah, I would definitely practice, and you'll be surprised what you can learn to do. Like even if you're small, um, you can learn how to do all kinds of things to protect yourself. If you're unarmed, they teach unarmed self-defense because in the prison facility, you're not armed other than maybe a baton or um, your pepper spray. So they,
Mm.
they teach unarmed self-defense, which is a good thing to know. That's what you see, like people that protect the Secret Service and stuff, that protect the president and some of your people in Washington. A lot of times you'll see them use techniques that you learned in your unarmed
Oh,
self.
right. And it's not necessarily, a gun or anything like
Yeah,
that. It's,
yeah.
well, and
So
those are all always good alternate ways. So then you don't end up taking a life when you don't have to.
yeah, and I never, ever, ever want to hurt someone, but I'm not going to let somebody hurt me either. You know,
Right.
I,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
but a lot of the stuff is just getting violent, and people's. I don't know.
Now, have they made it mandatory masks where you guys are at? I know I asked you last week and you had said not yet. I was just wondering if things have changed in the
They
last week.
they did. Yes,
They
they have.
did.
Yes.
So now
Um,
every public place you go to now, you have to wear a mask.
you're supposed to. I'm not gonna wear a mask. Okay, I'm just not. Um, if it was work related, I, if your job said that you had to, then maybe. But when I go out, I'm not gonna wear a mask. Our local Walmart here, everybody's wearing a mask, but they're not. Um, they got all the posters posted and things that they have to do. But if they'll let me walk in the door without a mask on, then I'll shop there. If they won't, then I won't. Because I can't do it. I tried wearing one actually to go to the election poll office up here to vote. And I had one on for about 10 minutes, and I thought I was going to suffocate.
Oh man.
I can't do it. So, the local law enforcement are not enforcing it.
Well, that's
And
good. That's good.
he sent out a statement saying that he was not going to enforce it. Now, if you go in a business and they say, okay, you've got to have a mask on, and you cause a big stink, they'll call the police, and then they might arrest you for trespassing or something. Because it's that our law enforcement said no, he was not going to enforce it.
Well, now, has any like of your grocery stores, like when you have to go in and get groceries, have any of them tried to get you to wear one or turned you away or even moral?
I don't think so. One of our closest grocery store is a small grocery store, and she's afraid of getting fined. That's where we do a lot of our shopping. And she did post something on Facebook saying that everybody coming in needed to wear a mask. Now, I don't know, if they're really enforcing that. I think Merle went in one time since then, and he did wear a mask.
Mm.
Um, so I'm not real sure about that. It's small. It's just a small store.
Well, and it's like I really feel for the workers because that's their job, and it's like if they don't comply, especially like the store owners, if they don't comply, they could get their license revoked. Their store could be shut down, and they're just trying to earn a living and support their families too. And it's like, I don't want to cause grief for somebody else or cause somebody to get fired. So yes, I've seen a few people go in without a mask and nobody's caused any problems, but I'm just like, I put it on, I make sure it's like under my nose where I can breathe, and I just get, my shopping orders done as quickly as I can. And the minute I walk out that door, it either comes off or I put it down, under my chin. But it's just it's ridiculous. It's just
Yeah. Well, I tried to wear the mask right that day over my nose and mouth, and we were in there. Luckily, it wasn't crowded, so I was only in there probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I was suffocating. I can't do it. And I feel for people that has to wear one while they work.
oh, and when they make it wear it up over your nose. Oh yeah, I couldn't do that because my
I know
glasses, fog up and.
one of my kids has to wear a mask at work, and she's been complaining with a headache every afternoon.
Mm.
And I tell her it's the mask because I believe in my heart that it is the mask.
Well, it's
And
depleting oxygen to your brain.
yeah,
Because
and
like sister, well, I won't say her name, but she did confide in me privately that because of one of her health conditions, she had to go to the doctor, and her health condition is worse because of having to wear a mask at work,
yeah,
and she can't get out of it, or she'll be fired.
yeah,
And it's just it's sad. It's causing a lot more harm than it's actually saving people's lives. It's causing
yeah,
more harm.
yeah. Yeah, and I just don't believe that I could wear one for an 8-hour period or even a 4-hour period. I honestly do not believe that I could. Um,
Now,
you
have
know,
you
that
seen the little cards posted on Facebook? Some of our brothers and sisters have posted cards like the exemption cards for the mask. Have you looked into that or
No, I have a doctor's appointment in a week or so. I thought I'd talk to her about it and see if
mm,
yeah. And that's just because I've got an appointment, it's next week. So I thought, well, I'll just wait, and because I don't really have to go anywhere much until then. Um, and
well, especially if you have conditions that would exempt you. See if she'll give you an exemption letter or card or whatever it is. Yeah.
I might print one and take it to the doctor with me and say, fill
And
this out
say,
for me.
yeah, fill this
Yeah.
out. Let's
Yeah.
let's make this happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you don't work in the prison system anymore, but just think if you did still work there, Michelle, just how hard that would be for you
Yeah.
and Merle to have to wear that mask, but also keep yourself safe, because you're guarding and protecting, the various inmates that you're in charge of. I mean, you don't need a mask depleting your oxygen and your brain cells and everything else that it does.
I don't know if I've not talked to anybody. I should have checked. I didn't know what our subject was going to be, but I should have checked with some friends of mine to see if they're having to. Probably they
They
are.
probably are. Yeah, especially if they're in populated areas where they have to deal with, the inmates day in, day out. They probably do. And I bet you they're making that they would have to be making the inmates wear them too.
Yeah, but
Like
probably
when they come out to eat and stuff like that, that they, you probably take it down when you eat, but then, like when you leave and you go into like your common rooms and stuff like that,
yeah, I
up
hadn't
the
thought about
mask goes. That would be hard.
yeah that the prison that I worked at. There's so many. The cost of that alone, supplying masks to inmates and officers, that would be with the inmate total and the officer total, probably 1,000 or more masks a day.
Oh
That
wow. Because yeah, you're not supposed to use them more than once. Even though I use mine, I wash mine because mine's a cloth mask, but I don't wash it every day. I might wash it like once a week or so. I only wear it when I have a passenger that's wearing one and whatnot. But yeah, your disposable ear loop ones, you're only supposed to wear that once and then you're supposed to throw it away.
yeah.
People just don't have all these monetary resources to be buying up all these masks and stuff.
Well, I started selling Avon recently for 2 reasons. I have to have skin so soft because of the mosquito. I call them Nebo skeeters. And, they had some cloth masks that were really nice, and they weren't really expensive. And I thought about maybe just buying one to have to put in my purse in case there was ever a time. But, if you've got if it's flu season, you should try to, stay away from people and
Mm-hmm.
go get your groceries, use your hand sanitizer, you know, Lysol. When somebody in my house gets sick, I'm the Lysol queen
You're
because I'm
right.
spraying everything. But that was before, um, it's just kind of common sense, and I don't, I don't see where this is any worse than a flu. Now, I
I
don't.
don't. I don't either. I don't
I,
either.
I don't.
But see, they've made it into like a bubonic plague.
Yeah.
That it, and like with the video that I think it was yesterday, they tell us 5,000 new cases a day just in the state of California, and I'm like, where's all the videos from
Yeah.
all just the regular people like you and me that supposedly we just contracted COVID. You know, aren't people wanting to share their COVID experience? I've been diagnosed with COVID, and here's my symptoms. Or you get over it, and you're like, oh, it was really bad. I almost had to go to I almost died. They're not there, Michelle.
No, they're
They're not
not.
there. Nobody is reporting on their COVID symptoms at all. None.
How people that have been quarantined because they have it. The news people could stand outside their house and talk to them through the screen door or something like that with their mask on to just give their experience of what being quarantined with it. Yet nothing.
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 And our hospitals here are empty. When everything was going on, they would not let patients in, with because was one passenger was telling me that she was flying out to be with her mother because she just had triple bypass surgery that had to be put off because nobody would take her in the hospitals because it was all reserved for COVID. But of course, all the hospitals are empty, preparing for COVID, but there's nobody going in. And see, I've heard that in New York too, and yeah, I smell something rotten.
Yeah.
I really do.
And something else that came up, I don't know if it was the end of last week or the first of this week. I've heard a couple people mention now they're saying that they found swine flu in pigs again. And that's been on a
Swine
couple
flu
of,
has been around for several years. I can remember when, they, I would hear things and, they try to scare you, make it a big deal. You don't want to get the swine flu, blah, blah, blah. And I just went about my daily routine, my
yeah.
daily life, and
But that's another newest thing that I've heard this week. They found some swine flu. I don't know in pigs or what the deal is, but um,
well, I mean, swine flu may come from swine. I mean, hence the name, I mean, it's not too hard to put, two and two together, but how much, is really coming from animals. I'm sure there is some cross contamination between, animals and humans, there's just certain animals we should not be eating in my opinion. But of course, I'm not going to be no legalist and tell people, what they can and can't eat. I'm going to be smart for myself, but some things it's probably not a good idea to eat,
no. Like I know I don't need to be eating pork because it runs my blood pressure through the roof. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just me. Somebody may eat it and it not bother them. Um, I don't. The boys eat a lot of beef, and I don't do well with beef either. Chicken is the thing that I can eat. Uh, my doctor's a vegan, and she tells me that I don't need to be eating any meat. So, and I've tried that. That did not work.
Didn't
Um,
like that, huh?
no, but chicken is the thing that settles with me the most. As far as my stomach and the way I feel. If I eat beef, I feel like real sluggish.
Mm.
It just don't settle well. So, um, everybody's different, and like
Well,
I
and
said,
their body metabolism metabolizes foods differently too. And it probably also depends on your age. I mean, there's things that I could just eat as much as I wanted when I was in my 20s. There's no way I can eat like that now when I'm like
no,
almost 50 years old. Just no way.
no. And we all try to cut back and eat better, and now all this stuff starts going on, and food's expensive, and you can't find half of what you need, and
There's meat shortages. I see when I do my grocery shopping, I see signs that say, you may have noticed that some of our meat is unavailable, and it's because of the shortages due to COVID and different meat plants being shut down because their workers all have COVID.
yeah, look around at do y'all have meat processing centers out there?
I don't know which ones we have here in the Sacramento area or not. But we have to have things that are pretty close because we're a pretty central location. We've got lots of different, farming country and stuff here.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the processing plants have some type of store attached to them. And I've noticed, I don't know about there, but here, that's where you're going to find the best prices on your meat. Um,
Okay.
and
So,
right now, I know of two, a chicken processing plant and a beef processing plant that don't have limits on their meat either. some of the grocery stores now do have limits on how much
Okay,
you
so
can.
you're talking about the processing plant itself, who, I mean, they obviously are selling to the grocery stores, but they must keep a certain reserve
They have,
for their own selling purposes, where
yeah,
they sell directly to the public, right?
a lot of I know of two processing plants have retail stores there at the processing plant.
Oh, okay. It's retail where you come. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, now they do sell to the stores too, but they actually have um, retail stores there. One is a beef. They do beef, chicken, ham, all at the one place, and then there's actually a chicken processing plant that's close by, and they have a retail store. And that I've not seen a limit. Now they may have since put a limit on stuff, but there has been limit on meat. And if you've got a family, like I have a friend that has four children, and her husband, and her mother-in-law living with them. Okay, a 2 pack of chicken legs is not going to feed them.
Mm-mm. We have 10 here with all of
Yeah,
my family members, 10 of us
yeah.
that has to be fed every day. Yeah.
So the meat limit, I don't think's fair because she can't buy enough in one trip to the grocery store to feed her family.
Oh, right.
And you probably, if there are limits on your meat, you probably couldn't either buy
Well, like,
enough.
the other shortages, they're still putting limits on, like your paper products, like your toilet paper, your paper towels and stuff, limit to one or two.
Yeah, yeah. They're doing that here, and they have been um, doing that for a while too. I don't know if I would say the meat limits are still there because the last time I was in Walmart, now I don't typically buy meat from Walmart, but I noticed their meat counter still wasn't back up to full capacity. Um,
Hmm.
so, um, but you have to think about stuff like that because if there's a 2 pack limit on something and you've got that many people living in your house, it's not going to work.
Hmm.
So that's things that people need to think about ahead of time.
Well,
And
and what you can do is you can be smart, like if you have a big family like we have, it may be that you bring two people to do the shopping. You put half in one person's cart and half in the other cart, and you
yeah,
just, I mean, I guess you'd have to act like I'm not with so and so. You just act like you don't. When you get up to the checkout stand, I'll go in this one, and then the other one will go in that one. And you each have your own payment, and
yeah,
that way you can get double. And I mean, it's not like you're trying to cheat the system, but when you have to have enough to feed your individual family's needs, sometimes you have to think creative.
yeah, and get somebody to go, to the store with you. Um, my sister has my dad at her house, and a lot of times she don't have anybody to go with her to the store. Um, her uh, husband works off, and so do her kids. So she don't have anybody to say, "Hey, can you run to the store with me? Because they've got a sale on beef this week, and I need several packs of it more than what the limit is." But you just have to try to plan for that stuff and make sure, like she could say, "Hey, can you go with me on this day to get whatever I need, to take care of everybody?"
Mm-hmm.
But and please be thinking ahead with this stuff. They're saying that um, there's going to be another round of this in the fall.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I've heard that too. Second wave. Yep.
yeah, and I think
I mean,
that
and they're already starting to talk about shutting things down. Some things have been shut down already here,
yeah,
just where I live. So
yeah, and they said that there's been a spike in the cases, so they're backing up on the steps to reopen, and I mean, you hear all kinds of stuff. So I pray that we can get through this, and um,
Well,
everybody.
that's where you just keep trusting in the Lord. You take it
That's
one day
right.
at a time. Keep your eyes focused on Jesus Christ, because he's the one that's going to, be your provider, your sustainer. Of course, he's going to expect you to use common sense. All of a sudden you may get an idea, kind of like you explained, Michelle, in our last hangout, that this past February you just had this really strong feeling, you couldn't shake it. Start buying extra food. Okay, well, you didn't know in February what was going to happen in March, April, May, and June. But see, God
Mm,
knows the future. He holds the future in his hand. So he
yeah.
was preparing you, and
Yeah.
thankfully you listened and you obeyed. What about the people out there who, yeah, they heard the warning too, but they chose and did nothing? Okay,
Mm,
well, they're not going to be as prepared as you are. And
yeah. And and it was just an overwhelming feeling. I was in here working, because this is the room that we kind of use for storage. And I was in here working, and I looked, and it was like just that still small voice said, "You better get those shelves stocked back up." And I'm like, "Yeah, I need to." And the Lord had provided with some extra money that I had at the time to go get what I needed. He always takes care of us.
yep, amen to that. Well, we probably need to go ahead and sign off, because I do have to head out here in just a little bit. But I am glad, Michelle, that you and I got to come on at least for an hour and talk. I think we talked about some things that can be a benefit and a help to our brothers and sisters out there who are watching now, or who will watch at some point. Just to realize that there's nothing wrong with being prepared, stocking up, whether you're
Learn,
buying
learn.
food or starting your garden, canning, all these things, because the Bible is very clear about being prepared. I mean, look at Joseph. He was in charge of storing up for 7 years. you
Check
know
check into things, because there's a way to do anything you want to do. You can make grape jelly out of Welch's grape juice. If you'll just research it a little bit, you can find a way to preserve your food and do some things that's within your means. You don't
yep,
necessarily have to
absolutely.
have a fresh garden, or so.
Amen. All right. Well, everyone, I think we're still on for next Wednesday. And I don't know if my green screen will be up by this Saturday. I know he got all of the rest of the parts that he needed. It's just, now he has to, bend the pipe and then actually install it and everything. So hopefully I'll be able to come on with you guys on Saturday. But if not, probably at least within the next week or so. So, all right, you guys take care. God bless, and be safe out there. And just remember, when the Lord presents an opportunity for you to preach the gospel, do so, but do so safely. I would suggest, women, unless you really feel a leading from the Lord, if you're going to go out soul winning, make sure you're with other men, other brothers in the Lord. Be safe, because you don't want to get yourself into a situation where you put yourself at risk. So, all right, you guys take care. God bless, and I'll just see you next time. Bye-bye. Give me